Worry Darling stars Florence Pugh, Harry Styles, Chris Pine, and Olivia Wilde, and is directed by Olivia Wilde. 1950s housewife living with her husband in a utopian experimental community begins to worry that his glamorous company may be hiding disturbing secrets. Well, I know what you all want me to talk about with this movie, and that is the press tour. Other than what's happening with Ezra Miller and The Flash and things that have happened with like Batgirl, I don't think I've seen so much publicity around a movie during its production and on its press tour. Rumors that Olivia Wilde fired Shia LaBeouf, rumors that she didn't get along with Florence Pugh, something happening where she may have been having an affair with Harry Styles, and that's how he got the role in the movie. And this whole thing as to whether or not Harry Styles spit on Chris Pine. Whatever it may be, I feel like people are just going to go into this movie looking for excuses to hate it because of everything that we have seen in the press tour and the behind-the-scenes drama during production with everything. And I think when we look at those things or when we see those things online, it just skews our opinion of a movie. That's not to say that I loved Don't Worry Darling. It's got a lot of issues, but I don't think it's trash like many are expecting it to be. There is one glaringly big issue I have with the movie, and that is the twist. I saw it coming from a million miles away. It's too obvious when you have this premise, that type of trailer. It's so obvious where they're going, and in my head, I was like, they're doing that, and then the movie actually did that. So it made the twist a little bit more hilarious, to the point where it was like, they actually did it. From a writing standpoint, it was such an easy way out. There could have been something else that they could have done that probably could have looped around and made sense when all is said and done, but it just felt like it was such an easy cop-out. The fact that they actually went down that route, I sat in the theater and a giant chuckle and smile came across my face because I just said, I was right. Like, I can't believe that they did this in a movie like this. It's so glaringly obvious that that is the direction they are taking with this movie. And I guess Olivia Wilde's direction for this movie also wasn't a big sweet spot for me. That her direction felt very tepid. It felt very generic. It felt like she was trying to emulate a lot of these types of movies that have come before, but didn't really add anything new into her vision. And therefore, I couldn't really get behind her directing for this movie, and it was super distracting that she was actually a part of the cast as well. Because it felt like since she was a director and an actress, and with all this drama surrounding her behind this movie, it felt like she wanted to be the center of attention. And that's how I really felt with her direction, her performance in this movie, and just her presence on this movie as well. And I mean, that might sound a bit selfish and clickbaity, I guess, but that's what it felt like to me. And I feel like she could have gotten a little bit more out of herself if she just focused on directing it more rather than being in front of the camera and in back of the camera at the same time and not feeling like there was all this attention put onto her. And Harry Styles, man, they talk about one-hit wonders with music. Yeah, I know. Like, you're that one band from like the 80s that has that one-hit single from the 80s, and then you can't score another top charting single ever again. That's Harry Styles for me in this movie. He's a one-hit wonder, man. He was good in Dunkirk, showed up at the end of Eternals, and I was like, I don't know about this. And then this movie, I don't know what the fuck performance that was, but it was not good. He's so emotionless in this movie. And even in the scenes where he is trying to act, he is overacting and he is overstepping his acting ability. It's actually kind of funny. I don't like ragging on actors, but every time he was on screen, I just said to myself, how can he not act? How is he in a movie surrounded by actors who can actually act, and he can't act? And then it cuts to Florence Pugh or Chris Pine, and I look at them and I say, oh, so that's acting. Yeah, Florence Pugh is a national treasure. I mean, she's great. She's great in everything. I love her in Black Widow. I'm glad that she's a part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. She gives the most well-rounded performance. She is the smartest character in the entire movie. Her character is actually really good. She portrays it really good, and the emotion that she can get out of her performance is very good too. And this is that type of movie where you need that type of performance, because there's just so much going on in this movie with these characters where she as a character is like, what is happening? Like, I saw something, now I need to know what's happening. And I guess in a way, the movie does hook you in that regard. Like there's a couple of things that happen here and there. It's a bit of a slow burn, I would say, in the first half. Once things start to focus up in the second half, that's where it becomes a little bit more intriguing but predictable. I guess it's a two-sided coin here. You have a very slow-moving, somewhat intriguing first half, but a more intriguing yet predictable second half that you know exactly where this movie's going. But I loved her in the movie. Chris Pine, I really thought was good. He balances out Harry Styles in this movie, but I didn't really like his character. I mean, I felt like Chris Pine, his presence, he has screen presence, but his character did like nothing. And he's the main villain of the movie. He did exactly nothing. He just sat in a house or sat at tables, talked to people, and yelled in a microphone, and that's Chris Pine in this movie. He does it well, but the character's just not good. The two of them give the most committed performances, which is funny because a lot of the drama on this press tour and the behind-the-scenes drama is surrounding the two of them and Olivia Wilde. So the two of them actually being committed to making this movie as good as it could have been, kudos to them. I'm a sucker for movies that have that 1950s aesthetic. I love seeing the cars, the different costumes. It felt like a movie that did come out in the 1950s. Like, I was reminded of something like Invasion of the Body Snatchers. I know that this is going to get a lot of comparisons to Stepford Wives as well. That aesthetic is one of my favorite visual aesthetics I can see in a movie. And anytime that there's a movie set like that, I roll with it. I like seeing the old cars. I like seeing people dressed up in suits and businessmen, because the world was a totally different place back then. And this movie tries to portray that 1950s world, and I think it actually does it pretty well. Whereas, like, the men go to work, the women stay home and are the housemaids. It's a completely different from what we know now. And it's a really cool compare and contrast of that society to modern day society. The movie addresses that, and I think those aesthetics hit well. It's just when that becomes part of the plot, that's where it really starts to become muddled. The musical score I thought was actually pretty cool too. Not a conventional musical score. It does have some beats in there that are a little bit like jump scary, but for the most part, it was a slightly more electronic and drum based that I actually really liked, more like something like that, you know, which added a little bit of adrenaline to what was happening later in the movie. I don't know, like, I feel like the drama surrounding the production and the press tour is actually more fun and interesting to talk about than the movie itself. I'm very mixed on this movie. I liked certain aspects, didn't like other aspects. I'd rather talk about the press tour. I'm gonna say I enjoyed Don't Worry Darling with only half a bucket of popcorn. So guys, have you seen Don't Worry Darling? If you have, drop me some feedback in the comment section below. I'll leave my link to my website in the description below as well. You guys are the best. Thank you for watching. My name is Alex Madden, and I'll see you at the movies somewhere.